Hey everyone, I'm Andy Fling from Making Music Fun, and I'm here today with Sarah Cion, and she is a jazz pianist and also a piano teacher and an author now with a whole series of books. We're going to share a little bit about that later, but well, I want to introduce her, and then we're going to show you the book, and then we're going to talk about some super musicy stuff. And then we'll get into sharing a little bit about her new book series. So let me introduce her. Here we go. Sarah Jane Cion is an internationally acclaimed jazz pianist known for winning the first place in the Great American Jazz Piano Competition, and her trio's performances in Japan and on NPR Jazz Piano with Marion McPartland. Her original compositions have been featured in Warner Brothers' The Mule and Marvel's Thor: The Dark World, and she has shared the stage with jazz legends like Clark Terry. Again, second time I say yay, such a fan. Anita O'Day and Michael Brecker. Sarah holds distinction in composition and performance from the New England Conservatory and has authored a book on modern jazz piano. Oh, so she's an author again. And here she is, ladies and gentlemen. Yay!
Hey, hi Andy. Thank you so
Hi.
much for doing this
You
interview.
are welcome. Let's show you Sarah's book, and then we'll jump into the conversation. Here's the cover from Sarah's book. Do you want to say a few words before we jump into the lesson?
I'm super excited because I just put all of my 40 years of teaching knowledge into this book and making playing rhythm and notes come together in such a fun way.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Back to the lesson. All right. Hey, I've got 5 questions for you, and we'll blast through these. So here's the first one. Everything's along the line of learning to keep a steady beat. So my first question, most piano students value playing correct notes and rhythms over keeping a steady beat. What do you value most?
Well, I actually always tell my kids I'd rather hear all the wrong notes. Not all the wrong notes, but I exaggerate a lot just to keep it fun. And I say I'd much rather hear the rhythm, the solid, great rhythm than some some wrong notes. It doesn't matter to me. I really want to hear the strong rhythm. And sometimes I'll even demonstrate a piece where I play all the wrong notes, but I play it in really strong rhythm. And then I play all the right notes in a terrible rhythm so they can hear what I'm talking about, how important it is to get the rhythm correct.
Yeah, I certainly agree. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. What benefits will come from playing with a steady beat?
Okay, so even at a beginner level, it's going to sound more polished and, dare I say, professional, even for a 5-year-old. But my dream is for the kid to be at home, okay, playing their piece in a really good, steady rhythm, and the melody wafting like even if it's a simple melody, because I have a book that has all these famous melodies, but written in a very simple way with big notes. And I'm imagining this Chopin melody wafting through the air, and the parents in the other room going, "Oh my goodness, my child is playing Tchaikovsky." Because the rhythm is so good and stable. So it's kind of like fun for me to get them to play in a really nice rhythm, but also it does help with coordination and it helps with phrasing, it helps with musical expression, and it helps prepare the student to play with other musicians because I always say, listen, someday you might want to play in a rock band, you might want to play in an orchestra, you might want to play in a jazz combo. So if you're playing at this tempo and they're playing at that tempo, everyone's going to be like this. So it gives them a little incentive if they know that they can play with other people down the line, and playing in time will help them do that.
Yeah, or they're playing at no tempo because they're stopping. I like kids are always like, okay, here's the measure line. Let's just stop there, assess what we have to do next, and then move on. Well, the rock bands, well, if you're playing for a church congregation, the congregation is not going to stop singing, so you can adjust and get ready to go again.
Exactly.
Yeah, and even besides that, as a trumpet player too, and a piano player, there are so many things that have to work together at the same time. So if a steady beat is happening, all these body functions know when they're supposed to do the thing they're supposed to do. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Number three. Um, what is your strategy for teaching rhythms and playing with a steady beat?
Okay, so what I do is for every single note on the treble staff and every single note on the bass staff, I have a rhythm and lyrics to go with it. So what we do is we clap them first, and even when we're doing a piece, I clap the notes with them first, and then we get that rhythm in our soul. And a lot of times, now I'm not saying every piano teacher can do this. I'm a jazz pianist, but I will accompany them. Maybe the upper register, I usually sit, to the right of them, and I will keep the rhythm, even if it's just a super slow tempo. And I know a lot of piano teachers can accompany, so that's great. And so I'll keep the rhythm, and it really gives them the sense of playing in time. So we clap it, we play it as a duet, and they really get the feeling of how fun it is to play in time.
Yeah, you're essentially just taking away all the difficulties and just giving them the thing that they can manage. They've had their hands for the longest. The piano's new. You just use what you have to make something and then just start building on it. Love it.
Exactly.
Okay. Question number four. What are some games or exercises? This is like my funnest one. What are some games or exercises you have found effective for teaching young students to maintain a steady beat?
Okay, so this is super silly, but when a student like is playing way out of time or something, I will actually get up and march around the room. A lot of these kids are way too young for the that little rhyme, but I do it all the time. I march, I say it's like a marching soldier. Left, right, left, right, left. I left my wife and 48 children alone in the kitchen in starving condition with only one hamburger left. Left, left, right, left. And I make them march around the room and feel the beat. And that's one thing I make them do, and they always love it and they always have a good time. And I also like to do the freeze dance. I put on the music, and then when I stop it, I say freeze so they can feel the music. And then when it stops, so they get a sense of it. And then we also are clapping and saying the words. So every single note, I hate to say, like in the Harry Potter books, they always made fun of that author's in my book. So you're never supposed to say that. But in my book, I have a lyric to every single note. So I make them clap it and sing it and say it. And it's all about getting that feeling. And also, before they play any note, I always tell my students, let us get the feeling in our minds and hearts before we even play a note. 1, 2, and it's funny because as a jazz musician, I clap on 2 and 4, but classical musicians might not find that as important. But I always go 1, a 2, we know what to do. And then we start. So like I get them to feel it before we even play a note. We got to get them in the feeling of where is that corner note? Where is that corner note? So that's that. And then occasionally, if a student is really, really good at it, I might put on a metronome and challenge them to play along with it, even if it's just Curious Cat, which is one of the first notes I teach, or Fantastic F, and I'll put on the metronome, go, this note's magical, don't you see? And I'll have the metronome either go on 2 and 4, or I'll just have the metronome go on every quarter note so that they can kind of get a feel for how it feels to play in time.
Awesome. Okay, let's jump in with the last one. Question number 5, how does keeping a steady beat help with playing more expressively?
Okay, so when students aren't struggling to find the next note, they can focus on dynamics and phrasing and storytelling. So this is sort of like the next phase of it all, but basically a solid beat that gives them the freedom to shape their playing. It's like stretching a note slightly for expression, but still keeping the overall pulse intact. It makes music feel more natural and engaging rather than hesitant and choppy.
Awesome. Okay. Hey, if you have any other questions for Sarah, you can certainly throw them in the description box, or not description box, but the comments below, and we can message her and see what she has to say and throw those responses back in the chat box. Okay, here we are back with Sarah's book. Spend a couple minutes here at the end, and you can check out and learn more at the link that's going to be in the description. But Sarah's going to talk her way through a couple of the pages. We've already seen this, so let's go to one of the content pages. First one's discovering treble clef notes. Sarah, take it away.
Okay, well, every music teacher teaches how to remember what the lines stand for and what the notes and the spaces stand for. But there's a few different mnemonics, like every good burger deserves fries, which is kind of a cute twist on every good boy does fine. And I like to have my student kind of either pick their favorite phrase or even make up their own. There's not much you can do with the spaces spelling face and the treble clef, so we kind of stick with that one. But I want the kids to sort of feel like they're making their own decisions. So I give them 3 or 4 options and I say, which one do you like best? And then we kind of reinforce it at every lesson.
Sure. Okay. Page number 3. Describe for me Fantastic F.
Again, so here is my way of making sure that they can learn both the notes and the rhythm. So we pick one note, one note. And as I was mentioning to you before on the last videos, that I try to introduce a concept before I introduce another concept. So before we introduced the F, we introduced the quarter note and the eighth note. But to get them to understand how it works, what we do is we clap and we say the rhythm of these words before we even play any of it. So this note's magical. Don't you see? It lives in a space. The first of 4. Its name is F. And here's the golden key. It opens up a secret door. And then sometimes a kid will maybe change the word slightly if they want to say, maybe one kid said, it quickly opens up a secret door. If they want to put more eighth notes in there, they can kind of change the lyrics a bit, but they basically get the feeling of the quarter notes and the eighth notes and the steady rhythm by saying the rhyme. And sometimes they don't even realize how easy it is to get a good rhythm until they read the fun words and start clapping along.
Sure. And what Sarah didn't say to you, we talked a little bit about the last thing, is that she's got one of these things introducing C, introducing D, E, F. And so this method really is a comprehensive method. It's hitting just everything a kid would need. This particular page, we just picked F. Okay, here we go. Page number 4, parallel motion.
Okay, so of course, eventually we want the children to start learning to get coordination with both hands. And one of the things I like to do is have them play the same notes together and see that they go up. And one of the tricky things is because the finger numbers are like opposites, right? Thumbs, we wiggle the thumbs or ones, da 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 da. So if you put the finger numbers in there, they get confused because sometimes when I say play 5 in the left hand, they play 1 or vice versa. So I try not to put finger numbers on this one. And I try to say, just look, they're both going up. They're both going down. Try to see the motion and try to see which direction it's going. Are you going down the piano? Are you going up the piano? So first we do right hand, then we do left hand, and we slowly start to introduce the coordination between 2 hands.
All right. And the last page, just kind of a summary of kind of Sarah's book and heart in putting this whole thing together. Music is a world we create with our hands and our heart. You want to say anything about that before we wrap it up? There she is. She's got her heart going with her hands, a heart by the side, probably a couple more in the other room.